Greetings, Earthlings! Before we start exploring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, wherever you're listening. It helps more people find the show and supports our mission of making science accessible to everyone. You're here with DJ Stellar Cloud. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to the Exploring Your Universe radio show. Exploring Your Universe is UCLA and LA County's largest science fair, and guess what? We are only 2 days post EYU 2025, which I've heard from many people was the largest EYU of all time. We had over 12,000 RSVPs. Thank you so much to everybody who RSVP'd. It was truly an amazing day, and I cried many, many happy tears. You're listening to DJ Stellar Cloud and
DJ Timey-Wimey.
DJ Timey-Wimey, aka Maria Vincent, is a PhD candidate at the University of Hawaii currently. But before that, she was an undergrad in our very home, UCLA's Earth, Planetary, and Space Sciences Department, where she was a part of EYU all 4 years. So how did you get into EYU? How did you hear about it?
I heard about it through an email from within the department saying there is this large science fair happening and we are looking for volunteers. I think the first email was about people reserving their booth spots and coming up with proposals for their booths, and then it was the volunteer sign up.
Yes.
And, you know, when I grew up in the Middle East where astronomy wasn't as big, now it is a lot bigger. So when I grew up, there was not a lot of outreach events or science fairs that I could go to. First one that I did volunteer at or even attend per se, it was in a couple months before starting undergrad.
Wow.
So I was pretty excited, you know, there's this large outreach event happening. I can interact with kids. I can see myself what's out there. And that's how I signed up. I think I remember what my first booth was as well. I think it was something to do with sounds and waves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was one of the physics booths.
Oh, they might not be around anymore. These days we've got like gravity table, the ping pong particle accelerator. I haven't seen anybody with sound waves, but that would be cool. But also, I never get to like see the whole event. Anyway, I wanted to say it's funny that you mentioned these emails to the booth leaders and then to the volunteers. I have this problem every single year. I'm currently wrapping up like all of the major complaints this year, and there's just a lot of people who don't know which form to use. So they fill out the volunteer form and they're like, oh, in the comments, by the way, I'm bringing XYZ things. And I'm like, whoa, we finished reserving spaces months ago. But anyway, sound waves, physics.
Yeah, it was very interesting because I had no idea what was the crowd. I knew it was like a family crowd and it's going to be kids, but I wasn't sure what the age range of the kids would be who would be interested in learning about sounds and waves and how, you know, things travel through different media. And it was a range of kids, I should say. There were some kids who were there just to play with this one xylophone that we had.
There was a xylophone?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think the point of the xylophone was to demonstrate how the different lengths of each of the wooden bars results in different frequencies, I think. It was very interesting. Oh yes, frequency reminds me. There was this one kid, I remember he was like 10 years old or something. And I was trying to explain how waves travel and, you know, something about waves. I forget what it was. I was trying my best to avoid jargon like amplitude and frequency.
Wave number K, new.
Yeah, imagine speaking Greek to a little kid.
Oh my god.
But this kid just looks at me, just stares at me for a second, and he's like, don't be afraid to use the word frequency with me.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Oh my god. I know. And I think that's when it really hit me.
Yeah.
Kids are getting smarter and smarter, you know?
They are. It's kind of annoying because we're going to compete against them for jobs soon.
It is annoying.
They're very smart. So this is 2017, right?
This was 2016 when I started. This was my first year, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience for me. And, you know, I learned a lot of things about how kids interact with science. It was a lot different from what I was used to. And it was also really cool to see because, like, you know, when I was little, internet was the new thing. And so everything that we learned came from, you know, TV shows, magazines, illustrated encyclopedias.
That's true, yeah.
And these kids have all the information in the world out there right at their fingertips.
So lucky.
I know. And I think that kids' comment about knowing what frequency is at, you know, at 10 or 11 years old really, really showed me how well informed these kids are. And I think their understanding of science and their excitement for it is very vital to keep events like EYU going.
100%. I mean, that's why everybody does this. every single guest has talked about how, like, the reason they keep coming back, the reason they want to work hard is this childlike wonder that they get to experience again through the eyes of these children. You mentioned that you grew up in the Middle East. When did you move here?
I moved here for my undergrad.
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
so I was there till end of my school days, and then I knew I had to move out for college somewhere, and I got into UCLA, and that's how I ended up here.
It makes me really happy that you got to be part of EYU since you first, like, came here. I know I just gave a speech at the brunch that happens before EYU about how, like, when I moved here, I felt like I was getting swallowed up by the school. But, like, I'm from LA. I can't imagine what it's like moving from another country and then coming here. It must have been quite nerve-wracking, but, like, you found your footing right away in EYU.
Yeah, I think, I am a kid of immigrants, and I'm an immigrant myself, and I think it's sort of now hard-coded into our DNA to be ready to jump into new experiences and quickly adapt ourselves to a new surrounding.
Yeah.
And so I think when I came to UCLA, I had all these expectations about what college experiences are like based on what I've heard from my parents, from older kids who went to my school, from our career counselor, and obviously from pop culture.
Yeah.
So I think during my first year, I did a lot of good things and stupid things that led me down various paths. But I think those combination of experience really helped me find my footing, not just within UCLA, but within the wider STEM community.
Absolutely.
And I think participating in EYU, after discovering how weird the whole daylight savings time shift is, I think EYU was definitely vital for me to find myself and find my place in this community.
Yeah. That's kind of silly. Is daylight saving like a US only thing?
It's there in so many other parts of the world.
Okay.
I think within the Middle East, it's probably just Israel that has it, but I'm not
Interesting.
sure. But yeah, I never grew up with daylight savings. My family's from India. We don't have daylight savings there either. So, and now I'm in Hawaii, and we don't have daylight savings in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh, you're so right about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's silly. Okay, so after Sound Waves, what booths did you go to next? Or were you still at a booth the next year?
I was volunteering at booths up until the COVID year.
Yeah.
I forget what booths I did next. So in specific order, I remember there was one about building comets. And I think this one might have lined up with the comet research I was doing in my last year, or I guess starting halfway through my third year till the very end of my program. I was working with Dave Jewett and his grad student Ariel Grajkowski.
Oh, I love Ariel.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Well, because she now works at the SETI Institute, and I'm a SETI researcher.
Yep.
And so I'm texting her like, you're so cool, you're my idol. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I like Dave Jewett too. He's very nice and very funny.
Oh yeah, he is the OG DJ of the EPS's group, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I was working on comets that time, looking at differences in different types of comets categorized based on their orbital period, and also looking at the activity of some really peculiar comets. So I think that pushed me to the comet booth. I think I might have been with one of Dave Jewett's or Dave Page's grad students with that booth.
Okay.
But that one was a very EPS's booth. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which booth this was because I know Dave Jewett is no longer part of EYU. I'm trying to get him back. I've spent many hours now trying to push him to come back. So the Comet booth may not be around anymore. Dave Page's group runs Diviner, the Moon and Infrared.
Yes.
DJ Stat Sleuth, aka Genevieve Venkatraman, one of my best friends, runs that booth, and I just saw her sit there for all 5 hours 2 days ago. So this booth that you were at must not exist anymore.
Maybe not. Yeah, this one was a really cool booth because we actually showed kids how a comet is made. We had dry ice, we had potting soil.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so we would mold potting soil and then we put it into liquid. I don't know. I forget how it was, but I remember there was a lot of dry ice involved because it was so wild to kids how ice can be solid, out in the weird LA weather that's in November.
It is weird weather. This year we thought it was going to be 85 degrees and ended up being a beautiful 75 with just mild wind. It was great.
Oh, that's really nice.
But you mentioned dry ice and my brain immediately went like, oh my god, how did the events office clear this? Because kids are like, they're not allowed to touch the dry ice. They have to be so far away.
Oh, so this one they were not allowed to touch. We had to keep,
good.
We had to keep them away.
Yeah.
So the only thing they could really touch on this booth was the stickers we handed out.
Nice.
Yeah, so, but it was really wild to kids to see all that smoke coming out and the whole transition of, how, this weird piece of rock and weird piece of ice can come together. And it was the very building particles of our universe, or of our solar system, sorry. So yeah, I think this was probably one of my favorite booths just because of how hands-on it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a researcher, I personally like learning things when I get to touch things and when I get to do things hands-on.
We'll definitely get into that later.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so yeah, I think this was one of my favorite booths.
But I find it very interesting how, like, the two booths that you were at are not part of EYU anymore. There's a lot of booths that have been here with us all 17 years or whatever. But these two sound like they're really great. I really want them to come back, and I know how to locate Dave Jewett, so I can push for this one to come back.
Maybe the other booth I was at is still around. It's one of the exoplanet booths.
Okay.
This one, I think we demonstrated how the transit method works.
Yeah.
This might still be there.
Okay. This is crazy. This booth does not exist anymore, but it was reborn by a graduate student named Neil Nagarajan this year, who submitted it as a proposal, and I was like, I can't believe we don't already have this. So, like, you know, the flashlight and the blockage of light and stuff, it did come back this year, but not because of the people you're talking about. Do you know who ran that booth?
I don't remember. It could have been someone in astronomy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the exoplanet person I can name in astronomy is Eric Pettigura.
This was even before Eric became faculty.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I have no idea who it is then.
Yeah, so there were two exoplanet booths. There was one that was run by the Panoptes group, which is it's an external group, but has members who are part of the UCLA community, one of them being my friend Therese, who used to be an undergrad here. So that group did a really wonderful activity where they had a live program going on and a model of, a lit bulb and a tiny little piece of foil that was like a planet going around and plotting things live. Ours was similar, but not as automated. But I do remember we were giving out those NASA exoplanet travel posters.
Oh.
Yeah.
That got brought back this year by Bjorn Bennica.
Oh, okay.
Who is a new faculty here, and he had all those posters up, and one of my friends is like, how do I buy these? And my friend is not an astronomer, so she doesn't know that these posters are, like, ubiquitous everywhere. She thought Bjorn designed them.
I only remember, like, one other grad student who was there, Shelley Cheng.
I
Or
don't know
undergrad.
Shelley Cheng.
Undergrad, and she's now a grad at Harvard, I believe. I also have a feeling this might have been a booth that Smadar ran.
Oh, okay. Smadar is now only a speaker and doesn't run a booth anymore.
Yeah, or not necessarily Smadar, but like it could be one of her grad students who ran that booth. But I do vaguely remember Smadar being near there.
Smadar Nyos is one of our favorite speakers. She returns like just about every year, and this year we highlighted her on our first ever EYU live stream because she's one of our heavy hitters, so we put her on EYU to the world. This is really cool. You know, you and I are really, like, coming full circle on all this stuff. It's a little bit timey-wimey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because now that you mentioned Smadar as a speaker, that brings me to the one EYU I fully remember that is the COVID year.
I'm so excited to hear about this. Okay, so you witnessed several Abijah presidencies. Who was the president before that? And then I want to hear how Abijah moved everybody during COVID.
I don't actually remember who the president was. Because I don't know, every time I've talked about EYU, it's usually been with Abijah.
Yes.
So I first met Abijah when she was my TA for a geology mapping class at Solgi Muntat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know her. This was like back in my second year, I believe.
I love this. Okay.
And so I think ever since I knew who Abijah was, I think every EYU conversation I've had was with her.
Aww.
And for the longest time I can remember she was the EYU president.
Yes. I love her a lot. Shout out to DJ Rockstar. Thank you for being one of our only 2-episode guests so far. When there was a building emergency and I needed guests to film in my apartment. Anyway, so I know Abijah really spearheaded this transition into COVID. She kept everything alive. She did instantiate the president role. I was just wondering if there was like an implicit president before her, but it sounds like it's always just been her.
Yeah, I mean, there might have not been an implicit president. To be fair, I've also seen how, I think one thing that does stand out to me is how it became more organized and more structured as years went by.
Yeah.
Like, I thought EYU was a fully fledged thing, but it sounds like it was still fairly young when I started it. When I started participating in it, because the oldest EYU poster I've seen is like from 2013 or 2012, or I don't know. It's also possible that there were no EYU posters before that.
I'll share a little bit of lore, and I'm trying to get these guests to come on, but EYU used to be Astronomy Live, and then in approximately 2008, a few grad students were like, let's make Astronomy Live even bigger and better. And so they were the first EYU, and since then we've sort of branched off.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So since it's really grassroots, it's really grad student run, I can imagine that they didn't have posters. I mean, because I don't have a poster that looks like this 2013 poster. Like, I didn't build that for 2025. It's not very necessary. DJ Timey-Wimey and I are sitting in front of a poster from EYU 2013 that's sort of like an ad for EYU, I would say, but we don't do physical ads anymore.
There were physical ads during my time. I remember there were these giant posters in front of the geology building. Which,
wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we needed that.
I mean, to be fair, social media marketing also just skyrocketed during COVID.
Yeah.
The one thing I did like about COVID was how a lot of outreach moved to a virtual platform. So even after graduating from UCLA, I could still be a part of EYU.
Oh, so you graduated in 2020?
I did graduate in 2020.
But then you came back and volunteered for the first COVID EYU in 2020.
Yes, it was virtual, and I remember there was a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, I think I did sign up to be a volunteer, but there was a lot of confusion with forms and everything because everything was virtual at this point. There was no paper trail, there was no physical booths.
Oh, there's no paper trail anymore. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't. I mean, even during the time I signed up, there wasn't any, but there was a little bit of paper trail, at least for the booth leaders.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just for organizational purposes to make things easy.
Yeah. It wouldn't work anymore because we have 70 booths. People would lose the pieces of paper.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I believe that. And so I think in that confusion, they were like, oh, sorry, but would you like to be a moderator? And I was moderating one of Smadar's talks.
Epic. So you were part of like the Ask a Scientist?
Yes.
Okay, so it was Ask a Scientist back then, and please refresh my memory, it wasn't on Zoom, it was on something else.
It was on something, I forget what it was, but it felt like it was something like Teams.
Okay.
Because it was like, it was definitely not Zoom, because I remember
Zoom.
Yeah, because I remember I had to log in a little like an hour before to make sure I was comfortable with the platform.
Yeah,
because I was responsible for like handling questions between the audience and answers from Smadar. So yeah, I think it was some other weird platform.
Very cool. Well, DJ Rockstar did explain this on her first episode for anybody who's curious. I just forgot. I'm starting to leak. So you were a moderator for the Ask a Scientist, and this was like people just got to interact directly, in this case with Smadar, and they could ask her questions about anything. Did she give a talk beforehand, or just sort of like cold email?
There was a talk part involved. Like there was a little bit of a presentation from her covering exoplanet science, and then it was heavily question answer oriented. And we did get a range of questions. It was not just exoplanets. As always, there was always a black hole question.
Okay, why did she get a black hole question? Okay, she's like the astronomer. There are other non-astronomy people there too.
Yeah, and even from my personal outreach experience, even when I've gone out and done classroom talks, my classroom talks have usually been for like elementary school kids, and it's always centered around the solar system, Earth, Moon, a little bit on exoplanets, a little bit of telescopes, and because I live in Hawaii, I did give a talk on Hawaiian astronomy. Ooh. And every time there's always a kid. So, black holes, is there a black hole near us? What happens when we go near a black hole? I think, black holes are one of those things that have been really extensively used in popular culture. That's the first weird, cool thing that comes to kids' minds.
And they're scary. I'm scared of them.
They are scary because they do signify an end. But if you think about their potential to warp space and time around them, there's a lot of cool things that could happen, like the movie Interstellar showed.
Yes, I like this. DJ Timey-Wimey and the time dilation of black holes. I'm a little bit scared of everything. It was so profound the way he just said they signify an end. That was like beautiful. We are signifying our end of the EYU portion of the podcast. So what is your top highlight from the years that you spent with EYU?
My top highlight?
I like the frequency kid. I like the black holes kid.
I do love the frequency kid because I think the frequency kid really kept pushing my interest for outreach. But I think in general, if I had to say my top highlight was when I took a break from being at my booth and went around to different booths myself.
Yeah.
Mostly it was to collect free merch.
Sure.
But I also got to see different departments within the university and external partners pitch their research, pitch their ideas. Some of the ones that always stood out to me were one of the JPL booths. There was the National Solar Observatory booth, and one from the USC Geology School that did this whole seismic demonstration.
This breaks my heart. None of these booths exist anymore.
Wait, really? I thought there would be some JPL booth over here, or like some NASA booth.
Unless you count Professor Amy Mainzer and her booths, we don't really have a lot of JPL representation. I didn't even realize that this was an option.
Yeah, there's been external partners. I think TMT has a booth now, right?
That one's also gone.
Oh.
TMT, the 30-meter telescope, used to have a booth with us because I've seen their banner, but they haven't been back at least the past 2 years.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly what causes these people to not return, but
I think a lot of it might be funding
Yeah.
and how well the project is defined and their personal outreach goals. But
yeah.
now that I mentioned TMT, I think it's worth putting out there. So my sister is an undergrad in UCLA. She's in her second year.
Are you here visiting her?
Part of the reason I'm here is to visit her.
Okay.
And so her first year at EYU as well last year, and I totally pushed her to continue my legacy of volunteering at EYU.
Yes, my brother better continue my legacy.
And so she did the same thing that I did, just picked a random booth. I think last year was a more physics-related booth. This year she was with the CS booth.
Wait, your sister volunteered this year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, she did. And she did the same thing of, going around to places and collecting merch. And the reason I brought up TMT was because she had some TMT merch from last year, so I don't know who was giving that out.
I don't know who's giving that out. That's funny.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, so I think what I really think has happened with recent external partnerships is people have blended their ideas and their collaborations to the point they're representing a larger amalgamation of ideas at this fair. And I think that's ultimately what EYU is about, right?
Yeah.
Giving people the opportunity to explore their universe through various platforms, various instruments, various research groups, and I think that's quite beautiful.
That was so well put. I think with that, we're going to transition into who is DJ Timey-Wimey? How did you get here? How did you get to Hawaii? And what are you interested in?
So, DJ Timey-Wimey has a very ordinary backstory. I grew up in this city with a lot of light pollution, so there was no way I could have observed stars out there. But one thing that did bring me to geosciences was just the literature I was exposed to. I think out of the many books I read, some of my favorite ones were this collection of Discovery Channel encyclopedias. There was one on and there was 4 different topics. One was on Earth, one was on universe, there was one on animals, and I forget what the 4th one was. But the Earth and the universe one were my favorites, and there were descriptions of, on the Earth one, there was a lot of geography involved. There was a description of geological phenomenon, how the Earth formed, what people think Earth's backstory was, and what Earth could be in the future. And the same thing with the universe. Everything from the Big Bang Theory to where we are now and where we're eventually headed. And so I think it was mostly the things I read that really led me to where I am. Even in school, I really enjoy geography and physics for some reason.
I know, physics for some reason.
So back when I was in school, I really like geography, I like physics, and I first thought, okay, I'll probably be a geographer. And my geography teacher was like, no, I think you're really good at science. Maybe you want the STEM version of geography, like geology. That's something you could consider. And
the STEM version of geography is geology. I think that's true.
She was right.
She's right.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of how I ended up in thinking about a career in geosciences, or even just not even a career at that point, like what I want to do in college. Perfectly timed was also a trip to the space camp and U.S. Space Academy and Rocket Center. It's the one in Huntsville in Alabama. And
I have no idea. I don't travel.
But I think it was a very cool experience where we got to do these bunch of simulations, like as though we were at the ISS or we were on a space mission, and interact with STEM professionals.
One of our other guests told me the same story. I don't remember who
Really?
it is. I will find out later. But yes, I think I have heard the space camp story before. It's ringing bells now because everybody picks a different role at the end.
Yes, we do.
And this person was feeling some sort of way about the role that they picked.
But I think, so the thing space camp, the things I read, particularly the story of The Little Prince. I think that was also...
I don't know this story. Would you like to give us the shortened version?
Sure, yeah. Little Prince is a book written by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. It's about this boy who lives on this asteroid this giant asteroid where he's pretty much the only inhabitant.
Oh.
And his spaceship crash lands in the Sahara Desert, and the narrator of the book finds this guy crashed over there, and the little prince basically narrates his journeys across different planets and asteroids, and how he's met different people on his journey, and what those experiences have taught him. And to this day, I think a lot that I learned from The Little Prince and from that book applies, to the point that I actually wrote a blog post on how The Little Prince is relevant in astronomy research today.
I love that.
Yeah, so I think that book, the encyclopedias and Space Camp, really pushed me to applying to departments with geoscience and geophysics programs. I got into UCLA, which was my top choice.
Congrats. It's everyone's top choice. Number one public university.
Let's go. And yeah, I ended up here. Did my 4 years. I double majored in geophysics and astrophysics.
Naturally.
Yes, of
you
course.
say that as like it was like easy. It was extremely difficult.
It was hard because I also came in without AP units, so I had to like basically repeat classes that I did in high school.
Yeah.
Because I also came from a different curriculum. So honestly, like when I moved here, my actual culture shock was not adapting to an American culture, because LA is very cosmopolitan, so it was not that hard.
Yeah.
It was really the academic culture shock that I was exposed to. But, you know, UCLA gave me a lot of cool experiences, put me in touch with various different people, faculty, grad students, and undergrads. Some amazing classes. Some of my favorite classes were my upper div geophysics and astrophysics classes. Then COVID happened, and then I was in my last year. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do. That didn't take place. I had a graduation dress, but no graduation to wear it to.
No, I hate that.
I know. It really sucks. But, you know, it was a very interesting experience. You know, Newton did stuff in the Blake, so did I, except I didn't discover anything, really. But I did apply to grad schools. I got into the program in Hawaii, which, again, shout out to Dave Jewett. He was the one who really pushed me to apply there.
That's right, because he went there before he came here.
Yeah, he was a faculty there. He genuinely enjoyed his scientific experience, and he thought I would benefit from it too, and he's absolutely right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, is your family still abroad?
Yes, so my parents are still in Dubai. My sister recently moved here to start her undergrad.
Right. So were you all like separated during this time? That must have been so sad.
I was able to go back.
That's
so
great.
in July, I was able to fly back home, and yeah, I was basically home for a year. So which was nice. Normally, I'm not a very homesick person. I got over that by my second year. But COVID just made it really hard to stay away from my family, because the situation was different in different countries, and, you know, it was not just COVID, right? There was a lot of political unrest and a lot of uncertainty surrounding various things during that year. So
Absolutely.
it, honestly, I mean, the safest place I could have been at in the LA region was on the UCLA campus, and I was glad that happened, but it was a hard time.
Yeah.
But also a very funny time. For instance, one of the classes that I took that quarter was the capstone geophysics class. It was the first time Dave Page was teaching it, so it was an experience for him. It was an experience for us.
Dave Page is so funny.
He is very funny and such a caring professor.
Absolutely.
He got us all the material that we needed, and he was always in touch. We had his phone number if we had to, like, really talk to him about something and get his help immediately. He encouraged us to use our backyards as our field for geophysics experiments. And because I was on campus, my backyard was the Roy Squad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was interesting trying to, you know, use a sledgehammer to generate seismic waves on that ground.
Wait, I know about this because he asked his graduate student, DJ Stat Sleuth, to build a ground-penetrating radar. So I know about... And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a statistician. But anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, COVID had a lot of interesting experiences, but I think that
Absolutely.
that did help me build a, not the best, but a fairly decent application packet for grad school. And so, yeah, I ended up in Hawaii. It was, my parents were a bit apprehensive because that's, you know, it's really far.
It's really far. How long is that flight?
A bunch of flights, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So I usually go from Honolulu to New York to Dubai.
Oh.
And when I come back through Seattle or LA.
Oh my gosh.
But that was when I was living in Honolulu. Now, I started my grad program there. My department, the Institute of Astronomy, is spread over 3 islands, given how spread out astronomy research there is.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the theorists and a lot of the observers, they are based in Manoa, which is a valley neighborhood in Honolulu. Then the instrument scientists who work on the instruments in the telescopes of Mauna Kea, they're based in Hilo. And a lot of the solar astronomers and solar instrumentalists are based in Maui, who work on the observatory on Haleakala.
So are you kind of like living in between several places now?
I'm living on Big Island.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started in Manoa after 2.5 years when I proposed my dissertation. I knew I was going to do an instrument project, and I moved to the Big Island. While the IFA and majority of the telescope headquarters are in this town called Hilo, I am in a rural area called Waimea, which is where Keck has its headquarters.
Okay. Waimea Canyon. No, that's a different place.
That's a different place. This Waimea is more like a valley.
Okay. Waimea Canyon, I think, is on Kauai.
There are 3 Waimeas in the state of Hawaii.
Oh, no.
Yes,
okay.
which is why, for postal reasons, the place I live is called Kamoela.
Okay.
Yeah,
which I've never heard of, but yes.
Yeah, but its actual name is Waimea. For postal reasons, 2 cities in the same state cannot have the same name, so it's called Kamoela.
That's kind of crazy. And then I went to Waipio Valley.
That is a different valley, but that's on the island, so yeah.
I was there last summer. It was very beautiful.
Yeah, and so now that's where I am, and the journey's a lot longer because now I need to drive an hour to get to the airport in Kona, and from there to Honolulu to, the rest.
Yeah. That's crazy. Is your life as glamorous as everybody thinks it is?
Yes and no. Everyone thinks that, Hawaii is this nice beachy place, and, it's very relaxing. I think it really depends on what part of Hawaii you're in and what you're doing with your life.
What are you doing with your life?
It is a question I sometimes ask myself. So the Big Island itself is a microclimate zone, meaning depending on where you are on the island with respect to the mountains, the weather is different.
Yes.
So Hilo is your typical island climate of being hot and humid, and when it rains really hard.
Yes.
I'm in Waimea, which is between several mountains, so it's a valley, and the weather is very Scotland-like. It's cloudy, it doesn't get too hot, we don't really have seasons, it rains often, and Waimea itself has 2 parts. There's the dry part where I live, and the wet part where it's always foggy and rainy.
Fascinating.
And when you drive down to Kona, it's drier, and Hilo and Kona are the touristy parts of the island.
Yeah. I went to Kona last summer, and my partner was like, I wanted to see rural Hawaii. We need to go somewhere else next year. So I might be in your area next summer.
I would say Waimea has a nice flavor of rural Hawaii. It's a small community. Everyone knows everyone, which is good because the community looks out for each other, but bad because everyone's nosy.
Oh, yeah. The townie tea.
Yeah, and it's known for its ranches. It was primarily a ranch town. There's a lot of horses and paniolos, which are the Hawaiian cowboys.
Oh.
There's a whole culture surrounding there, and it's great. It's also well known for its farmers markets and for a place of very peaceful living, and hence attracts a lot of rich people from the continental US to buy houses as a vacation or a retirement home.
Got it. Are there a lot of other grad students in your area?
So I'm the only grad student as far as I know.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so for me, life in Waimea was very difficult because I was pretty much the only one around my age that I knew for the longest time.
Yeah.
So the only time I can really interact with other students per se are when Keck has, or CFHT, the other telescope in Waimea, if they both have their summer students. They have summer programs that has students specific for students in Hawaii and certain other universities. Keck has a visiting scholar program which is open to graduate students from across the country, and it mostly has students from the UCs and Caltech. And so that's the time I actually interact with other students. But Keck also has a fair population of younger staff in my department and elsewhere. So yeah, all in all, it's not a lot of people in their late 20s that I get to interact with. And also like the young people I do know are folks with partners and families, so I do stick out as a sore thumb.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't have like the guts that you do. I wouldn't move countries. I actually barely even move cities. So I can't imagine that, but it sounds like you've sort of like found your footing, found a way to balance all of this, but I'm sure it still gets difficult sometimes. Let's hear some about your research. You mentioned to me off camera or off microphone that you're doing adaptive optics. I really like adaptive optics, but please tell our listeners what that is.
Of course. So when you're observing from ground, you are looking through several layers of atmosphere. And that isn't great because atmosphere is essentially a mixture of different gases and all of these gas molecules and particles, they keep moving about randomly at different speeds, depending on what layer you're in and what the overall wind speed is. And that can disturb the quality of the images you're getting of your various targets in in outer space. So the reason why you see stars twinkling is because of refraction through these atmospheric layers. Adaptive optics is this technological workflow people came up with and have been finessing with over the years to reduce the aberrations we have due to this twinkling effect. It consists of a system of a mirror called a deformable mirror that can, as the name suggests, deform to take the shape of the incoming wavefront that is always aberrated. And this shape is calculated by what we call a wavefront sensor, which is a combination of a camera and an optical piece. Could be an array of little lenslets or a pyramid of sorts, or a glass pyramid of sorts, that can actually measure how aberrated or how disturbed your wavefront is. And there is a whole control software system that calculates the aberration and sends the corrections to this mirror to take the right shape.
Oh, so it's sort of like if your eyes were like really bad, but they're only really bad during part of the day, and you had to wear different glasses, like reading glasses sometimes, far away lenses sometimes, but the computer knows which lenses you need.
Yes, except with lenses, you're only correcting for one kind of an error, which is more of a focus error.
Yeah,
Here it's a bunch of different errors put together.
Oh, okay, so we've got focus, color.
There's no color correction per se.
Okay.
There is, well, this goes into the regime of different kinds of wavefront errors. There's a tip tilt error, which you would normally use different kinds of mirrors to correct for, but how slanted your wavefront is. There's focus, there's astigmatism that can be corrected.
Oh, I've got that.
Well, this mirror will help you fix that. But adaptive optics is this very flexible technology that not just astronomy uses, but a lot of different fields. And since you brought up glasses, vision science uses it a lot to improve retinal imaging and to actually understand what's wrong with your eye.
Oh.
Yeah, and it is very wild to see how the applications vary.
Yeah.
Because when I was working with a vision scientist who works at the National Institute of Health, he was very surprised at the scale of things we have, because he's used to everything that we use, but on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so he was looking at we have these other mirrors in our optical path, and he was like, oh, I have this, but, you know, 1/10 of the size.
Yeah, or like 1,000 or something.
Yeah, it is.
That's funny.
Yeah, but adaptive optics, you know, being this whole elegant workflow of canceling out atmospheric aberrations.
Yeah.
To give you clear images. It is a very beautiful piece of technology that we have. Well, not a piece, but I would say suite of technology.
Yeah.
And it's been very vital. I think, at least for most of the listeners of the podcast, you probably might be familiar with the Nobel Prize winning science of discovery of the supermassive black hole.
That's
at
right.
the center of the galaxy. And
Katie Bowman at Caltech?
No, that was Andrea Ghez' Nobel
gosh.
Prize. Yeah. So Katie Bowman's work was imaging that.
That's right.
But discovering the black hole itself existed was Andrea Ghez' work, along with Genzel from, well, Germany, and then obviously there were theoretical predictions about that.
I'm so sorry. I was supposed to know that. They are a booth every year.
No, it's fine. But yeah, so putting Andrea's work into perspective, her work was done with the current adaptive optics system on Keck. But this whole thing is, you know, it's kind of old. I talked to people about the deformable mirror being about the same age as I am, and it was first installed and it got first light, which is when it was first used on Sky when I was about 5 months old. Oh. Some people don't like it because they're like, it's not that old. But for a piece of technology, it is pretty old.
I feel that.
Yeah. So I'm working on the upgrade to this, where my specific work is to test and characterize the replacement of the deformable mirror we're using.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the main difference of the older and the newer technology is the newer one has a lot more what we call actuators. They're these little pieces that can be made of different materials, which go behind the surface of your mirror, and they push and pull at the different points of your mirror, and that's how your mirror can take shapes.
I know about this because the Green Bank telescope, the world's largest steerable radio telescope, uses it.
Exactly,
Yes.
It does. And there are different kinds of mirrors use actuators, not just deformable mirrors. But deformable mirrors are a lot more flexible, which makes them deformable. And so the more the actuators you have, your mirror can take a shape of higher complexity and hence correct the wavefront a lot better.
Very cool. So what would you say is your specific contribution to adaptive optics? What is your dissertation going to do to adaptive optics?
So my dissertation is going to test and characterize this particular mirror, see how well it works, and help with the commissioning of this mirror on Keck. And this would be fully launching a second generation of adaptive optics on Keck, which has been doing 30 years of incredible science, but further improving the science now that we are moving into this whole era of extremely large telescopes very soon.
Yes, yes.
Keck, being one of the largest telescopes in the world, has this opportunity to pursue a lot of science and set up the science cases when ELTs come online. So I think the upgrade to the adaptive optics suite that we have on there is going to be very vital in the school.
Very cool. You sound like those big talks that happen at the end of the American Astronomical Society meeting when people are like, in the next 10 years, we're going to do this, 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 and this. But like, I believe you when you say it. That's cool.
I'm glad to sound believable. I just came back from a conference on extremely large telescopes. So I think that lingo has just seeped into my brain now.
Well, thank you for bringing it to the EYU radio show. We have time for one last question. I gave you a warning about this. If you were a child, if little DJ Timey-Wimey was one of the children at EYU, what would you have wanted to hear from a volunteer or a booth leader or a Smidar at Ask a Scientist?
That is a good question because, there are several factors to consider how little I am. There were different phases in my life when I was extremely stupid or extremely smart. So it really depends which Maria you got at EYU.
Well, like, we're all kind of like both extremely stupid and extremely smart at all times.
That is fair.
That never goes away.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The amount of stupid mistakes I've done as a grad student to the point that I'm really questioning my career. Like, am I meant to do this? And then I see my mentor do a stupid mistake and I'm like, okay, I'm totally meant to do this. But if Maria was at EYU, I think she would have been like Alice in Wonderland, just taking in the enormity of science that goes on understanding how our universe works. I think she would have really liked any booth that has hands-on experiments where she can be involved in experiments. Whether it's, now that I think about it, sound and waves was not my first experiment. It was my second year. My first one was making a pocket solar system.
This is gone too. No.
Pocket solar system is the easiest activity you can do there. So for EYU listeners, if you really want to teach kids the scale of the solar system, there's a super easy activity you can do. Take a roll of receipt tape, pull out a paper, and tell the kids to extend as wide as their arms go, basically their wingspan. Give them stickers of the different planets in the solar system, and the way you measure the distance scale is by folding the paper in half. You start with Sun on one end, Pluto on the other end. You fold it in half, you have Jupiter in between, and you keep folding and you find the locations for the other planets. That was my first activity, and honestly, I think since this activity gives you the maximum number of stickers, I think little Maria would have totally gone for it. I cannot believe I forgot about this.
I'm so mad that it's gone.
But I did bring this activity to a different outreach event. So IFA is involved in its own versions of EYU.
I know IFA is the University of Hawaii something, but what is it?
Oh, the IFA is the Institute for Astronomy.
Got it.
It started as an independent astronomy department and then became a part of UH to be able to have PhD students.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we have the open house where it's just our department and our collaborating observatories having their booths. There's a big event called Astro Day, both in Hilo and in Kona, where all the observatories and the university and other amateur groups get together to have different booths. So one of the Astro Days, I did bring in this pocket solar system activity because I was like, well, this is very cheap. We have stickers. We just need to buy receipt tape and scissors and we're good to go. And so I guess we've come back in full circle. What little Maria wanted, what Maria did, and what Maria brought out from EYU.
That's so beautiful. Also, it makes me so happy that Big Island has its own version of EYU.
Oh yeah, astronomy is very ingrained to the local culture there, given our telescopes and the cultural significance of Mauna Kea. So I think it's very vital to involve the local Hawaiian community in every piece of astronomy that we do. And outreach is the biggest way to get the local kids involved and basically build this next generation of scientists, especially among the islanders.
I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that to the radio show. Where can people keep up with you? You mentioned you have a blog.
So yes, I do have a blog on Medium, but I more actively write on Astrobytes. People can keep up with me on my Instagram at the Maria Vincent. I do post things about my life, my travels, most of my travels surrounding the different conferences I go to.
Yeah.
And now I've been trying to post a little bit about my own research as I'm in my final year of my thesis and I have things actually more in shape and in fruition. So yeah, people can keep up with me through there. Reach out to me. If you honestly just look up Maria Vincent Hawaii or Maria Vincent Astronomy Hawaii, you're probably going to find links about me or like my website or my profile on my department's page. So yeah, you can find, I'm not a very hard to find person. I spend way too much time on the internet.
I feel that, but I'm still hard to find because everybody has my name.
In my case, yeah, it's like Maria and Vincent are not very uncommon names, but I think put together it's kind of less common. So yeah, you can find me on my social media or through my profile on the Institute of Astronomy's website, and reach out to me if you have any questions about, planet formation, which is a science part of the thesis that I do, looking at circumstellar disks of dust and gas where planets form, or if you want to talk about telescope instruments, or outreach, or what's going to happen to Earth, or do we have other Earths, or do we have aliens, and that sort of stuff.
Well, thank you so much for joining the EYU radio show. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And it sounds like the next time I see you, you'll be a doctor.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course. And with that, never stop exploring.